supposedly...
Okay, I just got a notification.
Okay, but it's probably not listed properly as Platinum members only. I would guess. Am I wrong?
I think it just gave us our... It was a notification for the one we just did where we were fiddling around.
So I'm going to change this existing one right here to Platinum and higher. Publish. Okay.
So should we be live?
It says live now.
Hey everybody. I'm looking to see if it's true.
Oh man. Okay. Write this down next time. Note to self. We launch from within OBS and then we just go change the
privacy.
The privacy once we've started.
Here we go. I think this is it.
Hi, in theory. Launch from within OBS.
Hey, I think we're here. Okay.
Now you're gonna have to mute your volume so it doesn't start giving feedback.
Yep, we're muted. It's alive.
Okay.
Let me get my questions up here. We'll block our faces because that's so distracting.
Yeah, you don't want to look at yourself. Or you'll just be tempted to look at yourself all the time.
Yep, exactly.
Because we are all, every one of us, narcissists. Whether we want to admit it or not.
Oh!
I'm going to move the chair.
Okay. Hey everybody, we're just finishing setting up a little bit here in the studio, so just bear with us for a minute. You alright? Funny bone?
For the outtakes.
Yeah, there we go.
I feel like the camera's a little further away than it was last time, but it's alright. We'll move this so it's a little more between us.
There we go. Somebody said, Master of Disaster says 7th. Just guessing, though. Excited to watch live stream this time.
Woo-hoo.
Excited to have you here.
Alright, we're 4 minutes early. Oh, dude, I thought we were not going to pull this off. We were at lunch just a second ago, and I'm like, we only have 20 minutes, and I can't remember how to live stream anything.
Professional YouTuber.
We better go. I need to pee.
Okay.
So, I'll be right back.
Welcome to the live stream.
Don't turn anything off.
I'll entertain you for 4 minutes.
We'll forget how to restart it.
I'm going to talk about Stormlight Archive 5 spoilers that I've heard directly from Brandon Sanderson. Just kidding. I wish I knew anything about 5. I have some theories. Oh, okay. Well, we're just hanging out waiting for Colby. He'll be here in just a minute. How's everybody doing? Did you have a good holiday? Too quiet. We could tweak the gain here. Raise the mic up a little bit. That'll help. Oh, hope you all had a great holiday. I know I certainly did. It's great to recharge. Spend some time with the fam. All right, just a couple more minutes here, and we'll get underway. We should come up with a prank. We should prank Colby when he gets back. What should we do? Best one in the chat wins. Go. Oh, he's back. Hurry.
I'm surprised.
Get your submissions in.
Surprised you're not doing like a striptease or something. All right. You know what? I'm going to go on the Discord, and I'm going to do an everyone in the Platinum channel and just say, hey, we're live.
There you go.
Oh, except for there's 5 updates for Discord.
How are we on volume? Devin says he got his wife a laptop so they can finally play games together.
Congrats.
That's awesome.
When I had been married for maybe 5-6 years, I was very into World of Warcraft at the time, and one year, I think it was for my birthday, I asked Ari, my wife, I'm like, all I want for a birthday present is for you to like play World of Warcraft with me. Just try it. Like make a character and just try it, and that's all I want. And it was an unmitigated disaster.
Oh no.
She is not a gamer at all. And she's become more nerdy since marrying me, but like she sticks to books and shows.
Yeah.
Like no games, no D&D. She'll play board games with me.
Okay.
But sometimes she groans at like she wants to play, something that doesn't require like an hour to explain and then like 90 minutes to play, right?
Yeah.
Like she's like, no, that's too much. Like let's just have fun and like play a little game. And I'm like, okay, there's a 15-page manual, so let me read that.
Here's your YouTube video.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an hour long. Watch this first.
So she made a WoW character, and she could not get like the WASD movement, and the mouse can't like moving the camera with like holding down the right mouse button, and like she was constantly, the camera was constantly like looking straight at the ground, and she's like, I don't know how to. I tried for like 30-40 minutes, and then I was like, this is going to end with divorce if I continue.
You're like, happy birthday to me.
This. Yeah, exactly. So it did not go well.
Could be a little bit louder, so
okay.
let's...
Yeah, well, and I'm like over here. Oh,
yeah,
the mic is...
kind of at an angle.
As the mic likes to do, for anybody who watches outtakes.
Yeah. I'm constantly just grabbing clips of you, fixing the mic.
Stop. And it won't, I can't tighten it anymore.
No.
All right, I'm going to go at everyone. Oops. Or I'm going to go at here. Here.
Sorry to hear about the sick kids on Christmas. That always sucks. But hey, at least you're all home together, That's good.
All right.
Cool.
Okay. So, it's 2:01 Mountain Standard Time.
We've done it.
So we will start. I guess I could scoot forward a little more, huh?
Yeah.
So you don't look
like a giant,
massive, because I'm like leaned back.
Your back tucked away.
We're doing some serious like Lord of the Rings,
some scale,
Gandalf, Hobbit stuff.
Yeah.
Down here, I'm actually like 10 feet further back than down. You just don't realize how short he really is.
It's pretty short. Oh, so how was your holiday?
So good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was pretty relaxed. We just kind of hung out at home, opened presents. My kids now are old enough to where even the youngest like slept in a little. She's 10.
Nice.
So her want is to like wake up as early as possible or whatever, but she was actually a little bit sick, so I think that helped. So she kind of just slept until like 8 or 8:30.
Nice.
Which was nice, and then we got up, and like the way we do it, we have presents, like Santa presents are unwrapped.
Same.
And they're just like on the couch.
Yeah,
right?
same.
With their stocking. And so they spend a good hour and a half like kind of dealing with all that and opening the things, and then we have breakfast, and it's like we didn't even start opening presents until it was like 10 o'clock.
Oh, dang. That's nice.
Yeah, it was.
My kids are 6, so they're still very excited about Christmas.
Yeah, the twins are 6.
Yes, but we've been...
you've got...
Yeah, a little guy. Little guy's, what, 17 months, 18 months, something like that. So we've conditioned them. We have this clock in their room that turns green when they're allowed to wake up. And for some reason, they thought the rules applied on Christmas. So they slept until 7, which is pretty good if you have young kids.
6-year-olds.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So we didn't do too bad ourselves.
Nice. Yeah, it was good. Just kind of relaxed. My sister has a cabin here in Utah up in the mountains. And so we kind of spent a few days up there with like my whole extended family, which was cool. I'm gonna lower the angle.
Yeah,
the
sure.
camera here a little
Making
bit,
you a little...
because I feel like we're just
really small in there.
Yeah.
That's better.
There we go.
There we go.
We don't need all that wall space.
Soccer Croc, awesome name by the way, says my nephew has that clock. It's great. I'm thinking the green.
Oh, the green. I'm like, I don't have a clock in here. Right? Yeah, I have apparently a short attention span.
Oh, I'll pull the chat over here. It's a little bit easier to manage.
Yeah.
Oh man, someone said the funniest experience they've had sharing Elden Ring with my girlfriend who loves her cozy games. She was about 10 hours in fighting a single boss, must have had 1,000 flowers in her inventory. That's tough. That's a very hard game, especially coming from being a cozy gamer.
I have not played. Is it on PC?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
I
remember you telling me you tried, I think it was PAX that you tried
PAX
it.
East. And it was like a demo or whatever. And this was it just
like 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Or was it a year and a half ago?
I think it was a year and a half ago, yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, Dallin loves this game. He's talking about it all the time. And I get it on, I put on my headphones. I'm like, okay, I have no idea where I am. I don't know. I'm sure it's like a few hours in or whatever.
Yeah.
I think
you probably just started from, finish the first boss. The world kind of opens up to you.
Yeah. But I'm like in this little. There's like a wooden gate fence thing, and like my character, and I like go walk to the other side of the gate.
Yeah.
And some massive monster just like comes up out of the ground and kills me, and I'm like, okay, try that again, and I just like maybe 4 or 5 times. And I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like rolling. I'm like, what am I supposed to hit this guy? And after like 4 or 5 times, I could do nothing to him and just died instantly all the time. And it's like, yeah, this isn't for me. I don't think this is for me.
I think you would like it because the optimizer in you would create one of the best characters in the game. And you kind of have to optimize your character if you don't want to die every 5 seconds. So it feels like it'd be up your alley, but at the same time, it is a punishing, non-rewarding game.
Yeah, I find like the older I get, the more interested I am in turn-based turn-based games. Like I used to love StarCraft. Have we had this conversation before? I used to love StarCraft, and I'm just gonna be doing this with the mic like the whole time.
Yes, you're fine.
And like StarCraft 1 was like the first PC game that I just like absolutely loved and spent just like hours and hours and hours playing, right, and getting pretty good at.
Yeah.
And then StarCraft 2 came out, which was like 10 years ago now. And at first I was like, I played through the single player campaign, loved it.
Yeah.
Started doing online. I think I got up to like gold, maybe. But I just was like, this is too like stressful. I'm just like stressed. Like I'm not having fun with this. I'm just like, like
you're just managing all these fleets and
right, just like, oh, I gotta like upgrade this thing, and then I gotta build more workers, and then I gotta make sure that then I gotta be expanding, and then I gotta make sure I'm building this new building so I can start to, put out my siege tanks, whatever. And I'm just like,
wait a minute, I'm doing all the effort of an enterprise, and I'm making none of the money.
Yeah, exactly. And then you start fighting, and it's like you've got to not only be micromanaging your units, but still even checking back in on your base and like queuing up more units to be built and setting like a waypoint for them so that when they come out, they go up to the fight, and I'm just like, this is too much. This is just stressful. Give me Civ. I'm just going to play Civ. Now, That said, I was a massive League of Legends player for years too, and I played tons of League and liked it a lot. But it's like, that's just one, I guess, have one thing to control. And you really only have like 4 abilities. So it's not it can be twitchy, but like, I just play in the jungle, so that made it easier too, for those who know the game. I'm not playing against other players most of the time. I'm just playing against like, mobs, just NPC monsters, killing them. And then every once in a while you go out into somebody else's lane and like gank them, and then you go back to the jungle. I was really good at that. I was like high gold. I never even got to platinum there, but I did play a lot of competitive League.
They say in the chat, Devin says, the game is great, beats you down if you aren't initiated into the world of Dark Souls. I think that's what you experienced.
Yeah.
Barrel Boa says, this is the classic Soulsborne experience. And it's kind of right.
Just die. Like,
you just die until you figure it out. Yeah. Mezcla says, micromanagement at its best in StarCraft.
At its worst.
So let's jump over to the Discord chats. By the way, if you want to submit a question, you can do it here in the chat, but you can also go to Discord and submit it there.
Right. There's a specific channel. It's called live stream questions.
Yes, correct. I grabbed a sample of them here from the last time, since the last time we've done this. So we'll start with number 1. This is from Rainy IV Tube. Honestly, would like to see your idea of the most unoptimized build that's actually fun and viable. Very off-brand, but maybe for an April Fool's, it'd be fun.
Remember when Corey?
Yeah.
I think it was
2021.
it was within the first year. Yeah, I was like 6 months. The channel was maybe 6-7 months old, and I gave him. I was going out of town for spring break.
That's right.
And he's like, let me make a video for April Fool's. I'm like, okay. So I put a thumbnail on there, and then he came in and pretended like he was taking over the channel, and he made like a chaos magic, build or something like that. It was the worst thing ever, and it was hilarious. It was funny. And it was April Fool's. I don't know. Here's what I think I would rather do. What I would rather do is take something that is like garbage,
like a widely regarded bad class,
battle rager barbarian, you know what I mean, and try to make that like as good as I can, knowing that like I'm fighting with one hand tied behind my back. You know what I mean?
That would be fun.
And I've done stuff like that before, so that's not particularly new. I mean, I've done like a Way of 4 Elements monk or whatever. I haven't done it a lot, but especially if I get a lot of requests for a thing, right, I will. Or take like a weapon, I do that a lot, right? Like a build around the dart. The dart sucks. Actually, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Or a whip or whatever.
See, the whip is so cool in theory. And then you get it, and you're like, it's just a D4, but it has reach. But then you take it and then just push it to all its limits. Let's make reach the most it can be. Let's take advantage of that.
So doing like the problem with doing like as unoptimized a character as possible is I don't know how to how do I quantify that? Like, how do I put that in a spreadsheet? What's the absolute worst that like a character could be? You know what I mean? A purple dragon fighter. I don't know. Like, I think there's just a part of me inside that's like, no, like I want to make it good. I can't. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Sorry, we're getting a couple people saying it's not loud enough for him.
Yeah. I've got. Oh, you know what? I can turn the gain up. It might increase like some hissing.
All right. I don't know. How about that?
I'll turn the gain up to half. It was all the way down.
Oh well, that's probably.
But it's because there's some ambient noise in here. Like the AC will kick on.
Neighbors.
Loud neighbors. So let us know if that's better or worse. If it's too hissy.
Have you done a battle rager? Master Disaster is asking.
No, I almost did. It was recently. It was a barbarian. I think it might have been was it the barbarian from Hell? I think that's grappling. If I remember right. And I think I was planning on doing a battle rager, and then I didn't. And I don't remember why. There was something as I was kind of going through and like laying it out. I was just like, oh, this isn't gonna work because something.
Okay, everyone says the audio's better, and we should gather around like an old barber's shop quartet. I'm not even gonna try.
I need to zoom in the camera.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, this is from the one with the gun on Discord. If you rolled for stats instead of point buy, which builds would you choose for insanely awesome rolls, and which would you choose for super duper crappy rolls?
So the insanely awesome rolls, for sure, would be like all of those combos that you can't do because of the stat limitations. So like Paladin, Monk.
Yeah, so all your mad builds.
Yeah, like, or Ranger. Well, no, Ranger Monk works well, but Ranger Paladin is impossible almost, right?
Yeah.
Or like a Blade Singer Paladin, because I've been playing that in BG3, Take a Drink, and it's so overpowered. Like, I mean, I don't know about overpowered, but it's so good. It was so good that I actually respect.
You felt guilty?
Because I got to level 10 and I was like, Blade Singer 6, so I had the extra attack, Pally 2, Fighter 2. So I had all the spell slots, right? I had up to 4th level spell slots, Action Surge, Smite, and you can Smite with Shadow Blade, and you can and you can Booming Blade with Shadow Blade in BG3. And I mean, I was just like, I think I took, in the Raphael fight, I think I took him from 666 hit points to like 200 hit points, like just
round
like
one
on my first turn. and that was just me. And then other people did stuff, and you know what I mean. I'm just like, okay. After that fight, actually, I'm like, I'm gonna respec this to a monk. Like, I want to try out the monk, and actually, monk with tavern brawler and all the shenanigans you can is just as good, I think, or maybe almost as good.
So then for the crappy rolls,
for the crappiest,
so you need stuff that's like guaranteed to just work.
I mean, you'd want like you would want not a monk or a ranger or a paladin. You'd want something. Well, actually, paladin might not be bad. Like, you know what I might do is like as long as I had at least two 13s.
Yeah.
Would be like a pally with a hexblade dip.
Yeah.
Right. Because paladins are good. I mean, they're better obviously with like the higher strength and the higher charisma, but you know, if you could just, like, if you got one, like, 14 or 15 or something, right, 16 even maybe, that you could put that into your charisma, right, and then at least a 13 strength, if you could just have a 13 strength, then, yeah, like, you can use charisma for your attacks and for your spells, and pallies are just, like, you're going to have aura of protection, you're going to have your fighting styles that are going to make you, you know, pretty beefy, heavy armor. You can always smite stuff. Like, it feels a little foolproof to me. Yeah. Other than that, maybe a more of a supporty type character, right? You got your like a cleric or something that like you can always be a decent healer or a druid, or even a bard maybe. In the chat, we've got Devin Gilliam saying your magic missile build would be a good one for the crappy. Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. The Will Wheaton. The nuclear... I mean, I didn't invent the nuclear wizard, but I feel like I did an okay job of it. Perfected, but maybe made some improvements on it. I don't know. And yeah, no, that's absolutely right. There's no hit rolls happening on that build, right? It's all just magic missile. Yeah, that's a good point. Magic missile with some bumps to damage via Hexblade Curse and stuff that are foolproof. And then I think I used Clouded Daggers there too, where you're like pushing them... because I don't even remember how was I pushing them with probably a dip and genie or something. Oh, telekinesis. Anyway, yeah, and so it was just all like auto damage kind of thing. Yeah, that seems like the safe bet. Okay, Minery from Discord. Mm-hmm. What is your least played class or subclass? Why, and what would it take you to be more excited to play that class? We almost talked about this last time, but it was like, what's your least favorite? Yeah, this is not the same question. Exactly. This is a distinct difference between least favorite and least played. Least played. Because there are classes that I have not played in 5e. Really? And this might surprise some people to know, but I actually haven't played that many characters in 5e. Like, there have been one-shots between us and with other people. I mean, I guess maybe if I count one-shots, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have played every class, or at least, like, taken a multi-class into something. Yeah, I mean, that's true, because you multi-class pretty much all your builds, so... I've played a druid, I've done paladin, I've done sorcerer dips. Yeah, maybe I have done everything. Anyway, my least played, though, is probably ranger. I think I've only ever done ranger once, and it was for our... what's it called? That we started Descent into Avernus? No. It was Into the Abyss. Into the Abyss. Yeah. We started Into the Abyss. We played 2 sessions. Yeah, we only played 2 or 3 sessions. But we started at level 2 or 3, and I think I was going to go Gloomstalker Assassin. That's right, and it would make a ton of sense in that campaign. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. A lot of darkness. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I didn't play it a lot. What would make me want to play it more? I love Gishes, and I love melee. I get bored with ranged. I don't, and that's just me. But like, and rangers, while they are spellcasters, and you can build them melee. I've done melee ranger builds before, right? And in fact, if I were ever to play a ranger again in game, I think it would be my what are they called? The Fey Ranger. Blah. Brain. I'm right there with you. Sorry. Anyway. I'm not going to bail you out of this one. I'm talking about. and I did a build for him, and he was like a melee ranger using shillelagh and stuff. And I think that would be my favorite way to play him. But what I was going to say is the spells that you get as a ranger like aren't particularly well suited to a Gish. I feel like not. I mean, there's exceptions there, but like for the most part, they tend to be supporty. Yeah. More than not, I think, which is fine.
Fey Wanderer coming through in the chat. Thank you, chat.
Yeah. So what would make me want to play a ranger more?
An overhaul of the ranger class.
Almost. You know what I think it would be more than anything would be like a campaign that's suited to let the ranger shine.
Yeah. Well, I think too, because you get in your head, especially from like all the literature and movies and things of like what a ranger is. You think of like Aragorn. Yeah. You're like, great, I'm gonna have a sword and I'm gonna mix it up. But Aragorn is only a ranger in the fact that he like can, track in the woods. Yeah. Besides from that, he's just a fighter or like a paladin or something.
I almost feel like I would want to play a ranger more if it wasn't Dungeons and Dragons 5e.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or something like they almost need to change the rules around the importance of like survival skills and tracking and all that kind of stuff. But also maybe letting the beast companion just be an innate part of every ranger. Like you don't have to take a subclass to be a beast master. Like everybody's just a beast master, and kind of like the druid with wild shape. Like everybody can wild shape. Moon druids are the best at it. Like everybody gets a beast companion. Beast masters are the best at it.
I could see that. That would make me want to play for sure. In the chat, Joshua Clendenon. Oh gosh, I'm killing your name. Sorry. You can say Rangers being good would make them playable.
You know what? I think that Rangers are in a pretty okay place, like, since Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I mean, they're by no means the most powerful class, right? But I would put them above monks, for example, which I realize that's a low bar. I don't know who else I would put them lower than, so maybe they're still kind of low on the totem pole.
Corral says Rangers need a Smite-like feature, turning slots into damage.
Sure. Or even just, like... Hunter's Mark, I think Wizards of the Coast was on the right track with whatever playtest version it was that made Hunter's Mark like way too good. Was it 5 or 6? And it was too strong because it like didn't require concentration and whatever else. I like the way they're going with it in the upcoming, kind of how they have it written now. They scaled back on it, but I still think like the need to transfer it as a bonus action every single time just kind of kills the spell. It's not useless, and there are definitely times where you could argue that it's worth using, and as you guys know, I do so semi-frequently, right, between that and Hex. But the reality is like it's such a pain to use that between requiring concentration and a spell slot and a bonus action to transfer targets all the time, it's just like...
The cost is crazy.
It either needs to scale in damage a lot more and keep those same restrictions on it, which I would be okay with, because currently it's like the king of being the best damage dealer is getting more attacks, right? Right. And I would love for Wizards to kind of mix that up and be like, okay, like with this ability or this spell or this feature, getting more attacks is great. But with this feature or this ability or this spell... like getting more attacks isn't as good. Like the damage is really, really good, but you only get it once per turn.
Yeah, having that caveat of you can do this for 10d4,
right?
But you get to use it once per turn,
and and it has some nice scaling on it or something. Because right now, since it doesn't scale and it's just a 1d6 forever, well, you want to get more attacks. But what if it was only once per turn, but it scaled, 1d6, 2d6, every level you upcast it or something, just play with that mechanic a little bit more, and then it could be like, okay, now it's kind of more interesting, right?
Yeah.
And then it kind of gives me more options to play with when I'm building characters.
Agreed. Okay, Hunters Can Fly, awesome username, by the way, on Discord.
Like, what hunter is that in 1D?
What am I missing? When you start working on builds or ideas for builds, what is your main source of inspiration? And then there's a second part to the question: does the rest of your family play TTRPG /D&D?
That's easy to answer. My son, Knox, he's 16 now. I might have talked about this already. I started, like, a year ago, he invited, like, 9 friends over for me to teach them how to play D&D, help them build their first character, and then run them through, like, just a little combat encounter. It took, like, 4 hours, and it was like, I mean, imagine yourself in a room with, like, 9 14-year-olds at the time, I think, right?
Yeah.
14, 15. And all of that, like, just annoying male teenager energy. Everybody just talking over each other. Nobody's paying attention. Like, I was like, I had a few moments where I was just like, Ethan! Like, I'm throwing dice at people. It was fun. But no, I've played the Pathfinder adventure card game. It's like a deck building game.
Yeah.
With my son Knox, and that was actually really fun. We played through the entire thing. It took us over a year, I think, to get through it. I've started playing it with one of my daughters, with my wife, but they're a little less enamored. Inspiration for builds. I mean, my primary inspiration is my to-do list. Like, I keep, and you guys know this, I keep this, like, running to-do list of builds that either I come up with or very often, you know, you guys suggest. The commenters suggest, and whenever I read a good one that I'm like, that sounds interesting, I'll, like, copy and paste it into the to-do list. Other than that, like, I don't know that I could say. It's sort of like every week, usually I'll kind of go and I'll go through the to-do list, right, the builds idea list, and just be like, what sounds fun to build to me today? Like, I'll weigh a little bit, like, have I done this class or subclass a lot lately? Although, spoiler alert, I'm in the middle of a script right now that takes a hexblade dip, and I just released the, like, full hexblade, right, the dual wielding hexblade, and I think, like, 2 weeks before that I had done a monk with some hexblade.
So much for once a quarter.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, people are gonna kill me, but it's only a 1 level dip, and it's just because I wanted Hexblade's Curse. But anyway, so I kind of just go over the to-do list. Like, I highlight ones in red when I paste them in there originally. I'll change the text to red to kind of let me know this is sort of like a priority one that sounds. But I'll just go through it and be like, I just did a druid. I don't want to do another burst damage build. That sounds interesting. Like, I hadn't. Yeah, like, you know, and I'll spend maybe an hour or so just kind of going through that and figuring out what sounds fun and maybe what's a little more unique than what I've done in the last few weeks, and go from there.
Nice. So this next one from Josh C. kind of ties in nicely with the YouTube comments video that you just released.
I haven't released that yet.
Oh! That you will be releasing.
Yeah, it's so just like last year, I'm doing a best of the worst, the top meanest comments. They're not. Most of them aren't actually that mean. Some of them are, but the really trolly ones, like I just delete or whatever. Right? I don't want to give those any spotlight. Anyway, that's coming out next Thursday. I'm doing 2 videos next week, but they're both kind of. One's the burst damage, ranking my builds, burst damage version for 2023. That'll be Tuesday, and then Thursday is it's like a 4-minute video, just the little top 10.
Nice. So then it's a perfect primer for this. So it's actually the, like, inverse of that, the idea of that video.
Okay.
So what are your favorite YouTube comments to get? You know, the ones that really make you smile.
Oh, that's a great question. Honestly, like, there are like the ones that I love the most are ones where, like, people are saying stuff, not just like, hey, this is a great build, but like, hey, like, I'm going through a really rough time right now, and like this, like, your content has just, like, given me, like, a lift, like, emotionally, you know what I mean? Like, I had one just a couple of days ago that I read to my wife, because it was so sweet. It was like, he like, this guy had, like, I think had a family member pass recently, and was just really struggling, really down, having a hard time showing up for his own family and kids and stuff, and like, but had like my videos to look forward to every week, and somehow that really like kind of helped him and helped and just stuff like that. That's like, oh man, that really like touches my heart. Or the people who are like, every time Colby says like welcome home, like in the intro, like I always just feel like a little like warm in my heart, and it makes me happy. I'm like, oh, that's awesome, because that's like why I do that. Some people say that like I'm a little parasocial, like, do you know what I mean? Like, like you're like, I'm trying to pretend that like I'm your best friend and that I love you, but really I don't.
That's just Colby in general.
And I just want you to watch my videos.
Yeah.
And I'm manipulating you into.
No.
But like I really do feel like a real sense of like affection and love and appreciation for you guys, and for the people who have enabled me to like do this for a living is so amazing, right? And so yeah, like, so anything around that, I guess, maybe. Also,
that's awesome.
Runner up though is comments from Baldur's Gate 3 viewers who started playing D&D because they found me in BG3. They're like, I found you through BG3, and like now I'm trying D&D for the first time. I'm just like, yes.
That's so awesome.
Welcome to, because BG3 is awesome and it's totally a gateway drug. I might do a video some point in the future that's something like why D&D is better than Baldur's Gate. Just to help people know, like, look, as amazing as this game is, and as fun and well done, and like nothing compares to like getting together with your friends, like, and truly being able to just go anywhere, do anything, say anything, like, you know, as long as you make the roll, right?
Right.
I mean, but just
the true freedom
and ability to craft a story,
like
with your friends, and not be just sort of told a story, which is basically what the best thing that video games can do. You can have a choice in what happens in the story within limits, but there's always those limits.
You
right?
can't break the DM where they have to go back home and rethink the campaign in Baldur's Gate.
Yes. Okay.
In D&D, you can break them and send them home, and then they have to rewrite the next like 3 or 4 episodes.
That might not necessarily be a point in D&D's favor, unless you're a sadistic player, I suppose. I don't know.
You can never account for everything. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah, there are no invisible walls.
Yeah.
Right? Now, sometimes the DM might railroad you, and so I guess you could argue there sort of are invisible walls. But yeah, just...
All right.
Anyway.
Let's go back over to the chat. We've had a couple people ask some questions in here. So, question from Master of Disaster. Have you ever seen a DM do justice to a Warlocks Patron?
Yeah. Corey.
Yeah. With the Choir of the Crags.
I mean, so for those of you who don't know, we used to play in a campaign called Tales of Veneria.
I think I still have their sticker. Yeah.
We started. There you go. We started editing and then posting the recorded games. We never did live. It was not a Twitch thing. We'd record them, edit them, post them on my channel at first, and then we decided to split it off and make it its own channel, Tales of Veneria. And for various reasons, we've both actually since left. Preston's still playing with them, I believe.
Yeah.
Great guys. And, you know, we had a lot of fun, and I will always consider them to be friends. But mostly for me, anyway, and I think for you, it was a time issue. It was like we were playing every week, and it was just hard with kids and trying to be a husband and work full time, like to just commit to that.
D&D YouTube channel, and grow it to success.
But anyway, the first player that I played in that campaign was called Saradon. She was a warlock, paladin, hexblade, right? It was my first ever, and maybe only hexblade that I've ever played in game, actually, but I played for her for like a year. And her patron was called the Choir of the Crags, and Corey really did a great job of like fleshing out that patron and making it like feel like an incredibly important part of not just my character, but like the world's story.
Yeah, for sure. It felt like it had weight in the lore of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that. I have lots of fond memories of that character in that campaign for sure.
We've got another one in the chat from Basic Stupidity. What are the features you're looking most forward to in the Player's Handbook 2024?
Monk. Weapon masteries comes to mind for sure. Anything that makes like martial characters more, not just more powerful, but more interesting, right?
Yeah.
And where like your weapon choices actually matter. And you can do kind of cool stuff and do more than just hit stuff, right? But like, do I want to take this weapon mastery and use this weapon so that I can knock him prone, or do I want to take this so I get advantage, or that so I get an extra attack, or et cetera, et cetera. Super cool. And yeah, like monks in general. Obviously, for those of you that saw the video I did with Chris, Triumph Monk, talking about the UA 8 monk, like they've got a lot of improvements. That said, we're gonna start a campaign next month, right?
Yes.
It's gonna be a homebrew world that Dallon's building. We don't have plans to record it.
I don't think so
anywhere yet. Maybe one day. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, I'm planning on playing a UA Warrior of the Hand monk there.
Yeah. I gotta learn all the rules, so I'm like, you're gonna test out all this stuff, and we're gonna figure it out.
But as I was building it, like I couldn't help but like get to that point where it's like, this character would be better with spells. Like,
yeah.
Even though monks got buffed, and they did, and like at 10th level you get another unarmed strike, and like that's awesome. And as good as another unarmed strike is, they'd be better if I could take a spell where I was like either doing more damage with my attacks or like pushing them into a spell effect, a la Moonbeam, Cloud of Daggers, right? And so yeah, like I think I'm gonna multi-class them, which I'm okay with. Like, in fact, I would say, if anything, I maybe prefer. As bad as I want characters to be able to scale, I also really love to multi-class, and so it's like, yeah, give me a reason and let that still be competitive. But yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is there's still a martial caster divide, right? And where at 10th level, 11th level, you might be getting like another attack as a martial character, which is great. 5th level spells for wizards, right? I mean, Wall of Force and Animate Objects and stuff like are just so much more powerful than like one more attack.
Right.
And until Wizards of the Coast can find a way to either kind of unshackle martial characters a little bit and just let them... They're so afraid to let them feel overpowered, which I'm a little sad about. And I wish that they would just sort of, take the gloves off a little bit and let martial characters be super strong. And if that means that you've got to make some major changes to the monster manual or to your difficulty grid, whatever difficulty
DC,
encounter thing,
how you balance in the counter,
right? Like fine, but make it so that if you've got like a pure martial character, it feels like okay, like we need somebody in the party that can be a fighter or a barbarian or a monk or a rogue or a ranger, maybe at least, or whatever, you know what I mean? So that it doesn't kind of feel like everybody's better with spells all the time. Right. Period. Right. Yeah,
I can imagine a D&D game where you basically you're unshackled from that, and so you pick like, hey, at level 5, here's a list of things you can pick from that are for spellcasters, for martial, and here's like a Gish. Yeah. You can pick a Gish option or something.
To be fair, I do think Pathfinder does a little better job of this than D&D.
It does. It sure does.
And we could talk forever about Pathfinder and why I sort of fell out of love with it. There's plenty of reasons, but that is one thing that that I do think, like, spellcasters are awesome and not like so clearly way more powerful than martial characters in that system, I think.
Yeah. We've got Hunters Can Fly in the chat. As a forever DM, the CR rating for D&D is worthless.
Oh yeah.
I pretty much agree. You can use it as like a guideline, but it's rough.
And trying to balance, especially in the higher levels, is so difficult.
Yeah, and that's pointed out in the chat too. Corel says once you hit level 9 or 10, Marshall should be able to just one-shot bosses. Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. That might. I would say just do way more damage than casters, and then double the hit points of your bosses or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what you got to do. I'm not a game designer. I'm a game analyst.
Game puller aparter. A game dissector.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to Discord here. We've got Thaladar, which sounds like an awesome character name.
It sounds like Dalinar. It sounds
sure
like
does.
Stormlight.
Thaladar of Shinovar. When you play one of your optimized builds, how much time do you spend fleshing out their personality traits, flaws, etc. for roleplay purposes?
That's a good question. So I think most of you know, usually when I build a character, I tend to start with mechanics and then drape the concept and the story around that. I know a lot of people go the other way. Preston, I think, does the opposite.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He's like, comes up with like the story and the personality and things, and then kind of goes, okay, like what's the class and what's the subclass and what spells do I take? That said, I spend a lot of time on like backstory, personality. Like I'll spend probably as much time or more when it comes to it. Like, but yeah, I'll start with the mechanics, right? And be like, okay, what do I want to build? Why? What would be fun? And I'll build it out. Like for this campaign that we're gonna start, I'm already thinking like up to about level 10 or so. Like, what does it look like? You know. But then yeah, I usually will write no fewer than like 2 or 3 pages of like backstory, and think about like family members and like I'll actually write as though I'm writing a novel, like, you know, I don't know, Ceridon woke up to the blah blah blah, and I'll do this like snippet of like the character, like a day in the life of this character that was maybe an important moment for them in their life, and then I'll cut to like okay, here's like the full story of like what happened to their parents and how they became a warlock, or do you know what I mean, where they got their powers from and so why they are even on this quest in the first place and what they're searching for and like all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's hugely important to me, but it comes second.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I would say I think a lot of optimizers kind of get a bad rap where they're like,
sure.
You only care about the mechanics of the game and like making it damage. Like you don't even come up with the story. You could just be named Fred with the sword and like nobody cares. Yeah. But I will say you are doing like the Lord's work trying to like undo that like stigma around optimizers, because every time I've played at the table with you, you're, if not the most like sunk into your character, at least the second most sunk into a character. So yeah, I
mean the reality is, yeah, like D&D is not just a tactics game, right? And it's not very fun if that's the only way you approach it, in my opinion. As much as I love the tactics, right, and that's maybe my favorite thing about the game. Ultimately, like it's going to get boring really fast, and it's not going to be nearly as fulfilling and rewarding if it's just like, you know, we're just here to like kill stuff and like and be railroaded through some sort of like meaningless adventure, right?
Yeah. Okay, let's hop over back to the chat, because we had a question come up that I think was interesting, related to Pathfinder, and I know we're not going to really go off on a Pathfinder tangent, but they just want to know like why you sort of fell out of love with Pathfinder, if that was even the case.
Yeah. To be fair, like I've not played a ton of Pathfinder, and I've definitely not played beyond, I think, even level 3, right? So like there is a lot of the game that I have not played. I barely got out of the core rule book, as far as like characters and classes and stuff. But I think I would say 2 main reasons. One, as much as I love how balanced it is, I almost feel like it's too balanced.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you can do things to like optimize your character, but I think there are a lot fewer levers to pull.
Right.
So like in D&D, right? The difference between like a well-optimized character and like an unoptimized character is massive, right? And so you really, it feels very rewarding as a result.
Right.
To like, to me anyway, who loves character optimization, to really dive in and learn about all the spells and all the abilities and what are the feats and what race and what class and subclass and all those things should I be doing to really kind of, make this character really powerful. And in Pathfinder, the gap, I feel like, between an optimized character and an unoptimized character is much smaller. Now, some people love that, right? And I don't fault them for loving it, because it makes it feel for them like I can really just build the character for flavor and fun and like personality and concept and know that it will be viable and fine, right? But for those who really love and value like that optimization and finding ways to like make it more powerful, it just feels like at the end of the day, like your power level is dependent upon your character level, and that's the by far and away the most important thing that's going to dictate your character level. And all of the other things that you do, to me, feel like they have a smaller impact, and so that got a little frustrating to me, I think. The other big thing is, again, some people love the 3-action economy. You get in Pathfinder, you get 3 actions. There's no bonus actions. There's no reactions. Everybody gets 3 things they can do on their turn, and that's cool in a lot of ways.
Right.
Everybody gets extra attack right from level 1, right? But because of the penalty that you suffer, the more you attack in a turn, and because every single thing you do requires an action, it can feel frustrating to play and feel a little tedious. Like, you have this great idea of what you want to do, and in D&D it's like, well, I can free action, this is just a free action, and this is a bonus action, and then I can do the thing I want to do. And in Pathfinder it's like, that's an action, that's an action, and that's an action, and you can't actually do anything.
Yeah.
You can open your backpack, get out a rope, and throw it, and like that's your turn or whatever. Like, so that got frustrating. Now enemies suffered the same way, so you can say that. But I just remember when playing it, I felt like I had too many turns where it felt like I wasn't really doing anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was just like getting ready to do something, or I was standing up. That's an action. And then I was moving. That's an action. And then maybe I was making like one weapon attack or something. It just felt like it didn't feel very heroic as a result, or powerful, right?
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I'd say on like the build side of it, like coming up with your character, there are a lot of options and a lot of cool things you can do. But again, it's like, I can pick any of these, and it basically will guarantee the same level of damage, and like I'm not at a disadvantage for taking this thing over this thing.
Right. Or maybe, I would maybe even say, as opposed to that, like, okay, well, here's the thing to do if you want to do more damage, and then there's everything else.
Sure.
And so D&D can get that way a little bit too, as many times as I take 2 levels of fighter to get action surge, right? But I sometimes I almost felt like, okay, well, here's like the clear choice, and then this is all fluff. So I don't really have a choice. It almost would feel like sometimes.
Yeah, and I would say too, this is also coming from the experience of only playing a handful of times.
Right.
So like,
the
more you get in, the more that could all
take all of that with a grain of salt, because we're pretty novice when it comes to Pathfinder, right? I only did the 6 or 7 videos, and I played in 3 different campaigns, but none of which went higher than like level 3.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Okay, back over to Discord. Java Jedi says, have you considered publishing a book, 101 Builds by Colby, or the like?
That is a great question, because yes, I have. Maybe you guys could give some feedback on this. So, I was just in a conversation with my agent 2 weeks ago, because I have an agent now, which is weird.
Woohoo!
but yeah, he was kind of asking the same thing and like, you know, what ideas for publishing might you have? And I kind of thought, you know, it would be cool. So Hit Point Press, for those of you who know Hit Point Press, they do Gryffindor's Saddlebag, and they do a bunch of stuff. Yeah. They do all of the, what are the little critters? Humblewood.
Yes, Humblewood
stuff. Mm-hmm. They do a ton. Anyway, they sponsored a video of mine a few months ago, and it was on like the book of big bads. And so it was all these like big, nasty creatures, right? And the whole book was just like big bads.
Yeah. The big book of big bads. Yeah.
And as far as I know, it did very well. And I kind of started thinking at the time, what if, because I personally am not super confident in like a world building capability or like, you know, creating some sort of adventure or even like new subclasses and spells and things like that. I'm just not, frankly, all that interested in doing that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I have been thinking, like, it would be cool to do, and I don't know, like a book of bosses. Maybe is the title, something like that. The Book of Bosses, where they're all going to be like humanoids because all of my characters are D&D characters, right? Or right. I guess you could make a plasmoid or whatever. But anyway, you guys get what I'm saying. They're not monsters, but maybe they're bosses or mini bosses or important NPCs for a DM to use, like for a campaign where I take, I don't even know, like my favorite 30, 50 builds and like partner. I would be partnered with I'd be partnered with a publisher here that I could draw on to help me with like, the artwork,
with the assets, and
just all that stuff. Some people might say, "What about Randall?" And Randall and I have actually had a conversation around this. It was like 2 years ago, and he's like, you know, wanting to maybe do a book together, but I think it would make more sense just from a purely business perspective to maybe partner with like a Humblewood or a who do the Dungeon Dudes use? I just sponsored a video.
Yeah, Humblewood? No, Humblewood's the Hit Point Press.
Now I look stupid.
The Cthulhu looking dude. Oh, I got it.
Anyway,
I'll fill you in just a sec.
Thank you. Now it's gonna bug me until I actually think of it because my brain's just going like
that's all you could think of.
Ghostfire
Gaming.
Whew. I'm starting to sweat there.
You're like, oh no, they're never gonna publish a book for me.
Somebody like that, right? Where they can handle all of the everything, and I just supply like, you know, the text basically. Where it's like you're coming up with like maybe some potential story hooks for this character and maybe some personality things, and then what they look like, and then but basically I'm just putting out the build, right? As I've created it, maybe with some updates based on, you know, new books that have come out since I first created them, something like that. And you've got, you know, 25, 50 bosses or whatever that are just like ready to plug into your campaign and that you feel confident are like really strong. Yeah. Right? And that your party might have a hard time taking down, something like that. So that's kind of the one that I've been thinking, like, I think this might be a reality. I could not tell you medium term, long term, like there's no ETA on this thing yet. It's still just like incubating in my brain, and it may or may not ever happen, but it would be fun. I think it would be fun to do.
Yeah.
And we've kind of talked a little bit about maybe taking this world that you're starting for our upcoming campaign and like, who knows,
just see where it goes.
Yeah,
we'll figure that out. Cool. Let's see, we're 2:53 here. Oh, so we got a couple questions. I know, this is just flying by.
Time flies.
We could probably fit one or two questions in here, and so we're not going to get to everything, unfortunately. I'll prioritize chat because you guys are here. You showed up. What's up? Okay, so we've got this question here from Master of Disaster. What is your favorite portrayal of a monk or monk-like character in a movie or series?
Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah.
Easy. Next
Perfect.
Question.
Okay.
I mean,
we're knocking these out.
I love Jack Black, and I do love Kung Fu Panda, and I love that movie. But I would say beyond Kung Fu Panda, maybe even like Tigress.
Yeah.
Or like the other character, Shifu, like the other characters in that movie are, yeah, I love. Beyond that, sure, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, you know.
So good.
Any of those great, like, kung fu type, not just like Bruce Lee movies, because I don't want somebody who's just good at martial arts. I want the fantasy that goes along with it,
right?
Too, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'd probably go either of those routes.
Okay, and then we've got let's see here in the chat. Oops, losing the chat. Where did it go? I lost the question. No. Oh, have you tried building other fantasy characters into D&D? I can think of one time.
Just once.
And how did it go for you?
Yeah, it was the Kaladin, the Windrunner, the Kaladin Stormblessed. I don't love doing that because it feels like trying to fit a round peg into a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
It's like I would rather play the upcoming Stormlight RPG, TTRPG that's in development right now. Maybe we can get Brandon Sanderson to play that with us. I tried to pitch him when I was opening my little Stormlight minis.
Just keep writing, Brandon. Just keep writing. Finish all your books. You can do. You're so great at this. Me too, but I love all his books. I just want to read them.
And it's kind of a fun exercise to be like, like what if you tried to make a Windrunner in D&D? What class would they be? What spells would they want to have, etc.? But ultimately, it just feels janky to me.
Yeah, Kaladin's not a D&D character. No, he's a Stormlight character.
He's not. And you can kind of take things and flavor them and make it, so that it kind of works. But I've thought about doing like a Matt Cawthon from Wheel of Time, and I think you could do it fairly easily, but I don't know. And then at the same time, there are other people who do stuff like that. Tulok the Barbarian, although he doesn't seem to make D&D content anymore, but for a long time he was constantly like, how to build
Batman
America in D&D or just whatever. And it's like, that's great. That's kind of his niche, and I'm just not super interested in it. I don't know. It's trying to take someone else's fiction and ham-fist it into D&D, and it always just feels like off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay, we've got from Jason in the chat, of all the backgrounds that grant feats, which do you think provides the most benefit for Nova characters?
Pass.
You're like, oh, there's so many feats?
Well, not only that, but I generally skim those when they come out, in whether it's Ravnica or Dragonlance.
Yeah.
Because I know that
right, most tables
they're not going to be allowed at my table unless we're playing in the Dragonlance setting, which we're not. And they're not going to be allowed at most people's tables unless they're playing in those settings. And so trying to use them means that I'm shrinking my audience significantly. You know what I mean? Because people are like, oh, well, that feat's overpowered. And that
I can't play Ravnica.
So I tend to not know them very well as a result. I guess I would just sort of generally say the ones that give spells tend to be the best ones. So all of those Strixhaven ones, right? I remember just when those first came out, just going, oh my gosh,
it's
if I
broken.
can take these, yeah. But then there are some fun ones that do when you're a Knight of Solamnia, you get this feat automatically at level 1, and then it kind of chains into more powerful feats, and I like that idea. I do. I just only would want to use them if it was something that everybody did and could do, and it looks like they're going that way for 1D&D, right? Where backgrounds are coming with a free feat, but they're only the level 1 feat, and then sometimes there will be prerequisites. So I think once 1D&D comes out, I'll probably start kind of using those other ones more, kind of under the assumption that, hey, now all backgrounds come with a free feat, so this feels kind of the norm and not the exception, right? So yeah, sorry, I don't have a great answer there.
No, I think that was great. Okay, probably last question. Hunters Can Fly, again, with another question here in the chat this time. If you could take a subclass ability and turn it into a half feat, besides Action Surge, what would you pick?
Oof. I'm not good at on the spot thinking. Okay, a subclass ability, and you turn it into a half feat. Did it say subclass ability?
Yes, subclass ability, and turn it into a half feat. What would you pick besides action surge?
Which isn't a subclass ability anyway. But call it a class or a subclass ability.
Yeah, well, yeah. Then in turn, you can do class or subclass ability.
I can think of a lot. Like the Shadow Monk's Shadow Step would be awesome. And there's plenty of like blinking and phase stepping going on already in the game, so I don't feel like it would be super overpowered to give somebody like a teleport ability as a feat, just because it's cool and fun. But that said, I don't know if I'd use it all that often in the game because it doesn't necessarily provide more damage. It's just cool and useful, but it's hard to stick in a spreadsheet. So that would be a good one. I could see like, what about like other? I mean, I'm just thinking of all these monk things, like slow fall or like deflect arrows. I mean, all of those cool monk features that are like.
Ooh, deflect arrows would be really cool.
That are neat, but like not always useful depending on the situation. You might see them. The one D&D version is better because it's deflect attacks, so like it works for melee too, which is just so good.
Because like if you're a wizard, deflect arrows, that might come in handy. Especially if it's a half feat and you can take a bump to something.
Or even some of those ranger like utility things.
Yeah.
Like the tracking your enemies, or like being able to know your enemy, like a la Battle Master, stuff where you can like study a thing and like gain some benefit from it.
Yeah.
Whether it's an ability to track or like advantage in this kind of terrain, or an ability to know an enemy's weaknesses or something like that. Those would be cool things that, especially if you could like get a +1 to, a choice of ability scores or something like that. It would be like, okay, like that kind of lets me even out my uneven ability score and, have a cool like flavorful utility thing too.
Right.
So yeah.
Cool. Well, that puts us at 302. So
we're over.
Any last things you wanna? You want to talk about what's going on in the D4 world?
Let's see. Not really. I'm loving still Baldur's Gate, and we were talking about this at lunch. It's like I always think in my head, like, I think I'm done with Baldur's Gate content. Sorry for people who are mostly here for Baldur's Gate content, because in my head I'm always thinking once the BG3 like analytics, like as far as like how many views are the videos getting and all that kind of stuff, like. Once they get to like the same as a D&D video, then maybe that's the sign for me to stop doing the BG3 content, right? But then like, and I keep thinking that I've gotten there, but then like a week or 2 or 3 or 4 weeks later, the BG3 content continues to like, it's more evergreen. Like it's getting more views like for
long term. Yeah.
They don't plateau as much as like the D&D stuff. And so I'm like, oh shoot, I think I still have to keep making BG3 content. Not that I don't like making it, but like, I also don't want to like split my audience.
Yeah, it's the perfect point for that. Bringing the two worlds together, right? That why D&D is better video.
Yeah,
I think that'll maybe bridge the gap between some of those players.
But also with BG3, as much as I love it, as much as I love like the playground that character creation can be there are way fewer options for character creation, especially if you're not using mods, right? As far as like spells to choose from, subclasses to choose from, there's not even artificers, right? Like, and so I feel like I have a lot fewer ideas for character builds for BG3 than I do for D&D. I've got 6 pages worth of, and in Baldur's Gate, it's kind of like, I feel like I'm getting, like I'm sort of scraping the bottom of the barrel a little bit.
Well, especially when you're doing like 4 builds in a video. Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty of stuff that like I probably haven't thought about or could still do, and people are always making suggestions. Oh, like do builds around magic items, which I don't really do, right? I could do that, or this subclass that I haven't really used yet, or whatever. But yeah, I think I'm kind of feeling a little bit less like inspired to do Baldur's Gate content.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I'm not sure if I'm gonna do any more. I probably will, but I don't know. And then other than that, yeah, I'm just super excited for 1D&D this year. 2024 is gonna be a crazy year. I'm a little nervous about it because I worry that all of my existing content that I've created thus far is going to suddenly like stop getting views, right? Because that's a big part of like the channel is all of those old 153 D&D builds that I've done to date like are still relevant for the most part, and so people might still be going back and watching them, and then once you've got this new 1D&D, well, now those are obsolete, so that could really have a negative impact on the channel. But I guess if Wizards of the Coast stays true to their commitment, supposedly, to, you know, make everything backwards compatible and, you know, all the old stuff still works, this isn't a new version of D&D, it's just like updates to some rules, then that might be less true, and so I don't know. But regardless, I'm super excited for the updated Player's Handbook stuff, and I just hope that they can get the balance even a little bit better than they already seem to have gotten it. You know, I hope that they fix writing mount stuff. They've not talked at all about mounted combat yet. It's just like, come on, this is so bad in existing 5e. It's so
they
clunky.
love it. That's why they're not changing it. It's so good.
Clunky. The independent versus controlled, and like where does your character sit on the mount, and like all these things.
Yeah,
it's just like,
I think a DM reads that and is just like, no mounted combat in my game.
Yeah, and how does Find Steed work in relation to, and just all the things. It's just bleh. Anyway, there's lots of things that I hope that they'll still tweak and fix, but hey,
yeah,
they fixed Conjure Animals.
I think a lot of people will probably still play 5e for a while. You know, they don't want to just jump right in. Some people will, but I think a lot of people kind of carry on to an edition for a little while.
It'll be a slow transition. Not everybody wants to spend a bunch of money on new books when they've already got a library of stuff and it works, you know.
Exactly.
But I'm sure that over time, the majority of players will transition, just as a matter of when.
Yep. Cool. Well, that's all the questions. Well, there's going to be some carryover questions. Sorry we couldn't get to all of them. But that's all the questions we have time for. So we'll pick this up next month.
Yeah, next month. Kind of look for, I think, the similar, maybe the last week of the month on probably a Thursday. Thursday seems to work well. But yeah, keep submitting your guys' questions to the Discord, and thank you so much. Here's my moment to be parasocial. I love you guys. I really do. Thank you for all of your support and for being here and for interacting on the Discord and in the video chats and everything. It's just been a real blessing and privilege to be able to interact with you guys all the time. And thanks, Dallin, for all the help that you've been doing.
Yeah.
Like the editing on the videos lately, right? Have been so good. Like,
hopefully.
So much better. And it's been so nice to like not have to do that anymore. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, it lets me just like create more content and do more stuff to manage a business, and
I'm happy to do it. It's kind of forced me into a schedule myself, which is great. So now I kind of have like a week of like, I know what I'm doing at these certain times of the day, and it's forced me to actually read books more than watch TV more, because you can't like edit and have something in the background. So it's like, I do this and then I'm like, it's time for bed. I'm going to read a book and go to bed. So like, it's a blessing for me. I've been reading way more now. So thank you.
All right. You guys, Happy New Year. And I guess we'll see you online.
Bye.
Take care.